Welcome back to the Marnie Blick tapes, the crime podcast that follows the cases of Marnie Blick, a remarkable private detective that was active during the mid-90s to early 2000s. If you're new here and aren't familiar with Marnie, then you wouldn't know that she had an accident that left her paralyzed from the waist down. But after a short break, she returned with an assistant named Finn Graham, who she hired to go out and do field work.
What Finn would do is be your eyes and ears on the field and interview witnesses and suspects and then report back to Marnie via phone or by playing back the tape recordings. And lucky for us, Marnie kept detailed records of this.
That's what you'll be listening to, a retelling of a case with the help of their recordings of phone calls, tapes of interviews, and our narration in between.
And what you're listening to is actually part 2 of a case, so we'd highly recommend you go back and listen to part 1.
But if you have, then here we are with part 2 of the hateful hacking of Phil Cardett. A quick recap. Once upon a time, there was a reality game show called Heroes Isle, which many consider to be a predecessor to Survivor. However, during filming, their host, Phil Cardett, was found dead with a machete lodged in his neck in his office. Finn Graham was flown out and was finishing up his interviews with the 4 contestants when he was interrupted.
Turns out there was a massive storm coming their way and they had to evacuate. However, during the evacuation, one of the contestants, Heather Graham, an aspiring actor, was lost. So a small impromptu rescue team was created, one of which was our very own Finn Graham.
And where we last left off, we heard what sounded like an informal last will and testament from Finn as he, too, got lost in the Fijian
I
jungle.
just figured that if we, don't make it back, then...
That's dark.
Yeah, that is dark.
You're listening to Finn and Heather, the lost contestant. Apparently, Finn continued his search whenever he felt it to be safe to do so, and eventually found Heather, who'd found shelter in a cave. And luckily, thanks to her Heroes Isle experience, she managed to make a fire.
Yeah? Are your parents in LA too?
We don't really have the best relationship.
Oh, well, yeah, I guess just talk to, what's her name?
My sister?
Yeah.
Nina.
Nina. Okay, just talk to Nina.
Okay, Hi, Nina. It's Heather. I don't know, what should I say?
Anything you want. I know it's weird, but it's just in case, you know. I was just thinking, like, it'd be nice if the rules were switched to have, like, memento, you know.
Okay. Okay, so, hi, Nina. It's Heather. Just, got myself into another sticky situation. I'm with this guy, Finn. He's in HR, and he's super nice, so I have company. But basically, I just wanted to say that I hope you get better. And I just want you to know that I love you. And I want you to be the best that you can possibly be, and I love you.
How did that feel?
To be honest, I'm actually a lot more sad now.
Oh no, shit.
No, it's actually good.
Yeah. This is all probably for nothing.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Did you want to say anything else?
The two ended up spending the next few hours talking and eating while huddled around a fire. Luckily, Heather had brought a large bag full of supplies with her during the evacuation. Finn wrote down that they spoke about their families a lot.
Turns out, the sister Heather spoke about was her older stepsister, Nina Tamura. Growing up, Heather adored her older sister and even followed her out to Hollywood once Heather turned 18. According to Heather, Nina was dealing with some depression and struggling financially, so Heather signed up for Heroes Isle for the potential prize money. Finn and Heather spoke for hours before eventually falling asleep as the storm continued to lay havoc to the jungle around them.
And fortunately, they were found the next morning when the storm had ended. They were brought back to the village and fed what Finn described as the best meal of his life. And soon after, Finn was back to his investigation, starting right where he left off with Theodore Cohen, the water polo coach.
So I believe we were talking about Phil last. What was your relationship with Phil?
Well, we went to college together. We were in the same fraternity.
Oh, so you knew Phil before the show?
Sure did, yeah.
Is that how you got on the show?
Kind of. I mean, I had to audition, but I heard about the auditions through Phil.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
And you never had a problem with him?
No. I mean, I tend not to really know him on the show, but we're actually good friends.
That fraternity bond stayed strong.
Yeah, totally, man. Yeah.
Were you with him the night you guys went on lockdown?
We had dinner, but again, we don't hang out like on camera because of TV or whatever.
Right.
Phil said not to destroy the illusion.
Right. Did you see anyone else with... what was everyone else doing?
Well, Phil was mainly with Joanna that night. Heather, I can't remember. Nathan got crazy diarrhea because he went way too hard on the desserts. And that's pretty much all I remember, actually, because I drank too much and passed out a little early.
So Joanna and Phil were together all night?
No, not all night. Just before dinner.
Oh, what about after dinner?
Ooh, can't tell you that. I don't know what happened after dinner. Remember, because of the drinking.
How'd you know that Nathan was in the bathroom?
He told me about it at some point. I don't know when, but, yeah. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, what? What did you end up doing?
I was just, watching TV, I guess. Oh, Die Hard. Yeah, it was Die Hard. Love that movie.
On TV?
No, actually it was a VHS.
Finn went on to interview several people in the crew, from the director to the cameraman to the guy who would run and get you coffee. And that's where he found a key piece of information.
Here's Cameron Fry, the production assistant, also known as the guy who gets you coffee.
You're the production assistant who was last known person of contact with
Yes.
Phil? Okay, great. What do you think of Phil?
He didn't baby anyone.
So he wasn't nice, or?
Yeah, I wouldn't describe him as nice. He wasn't mean, just business.
Did you see him treat anyone unfairly or inappropriately?
I don't think he did anything like that, no.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if I'm the best person to ask because I'm new to the industry and still learning.
Oh, no, that's fine. I'm just looking for opinions.
Okay.
So the main reason I needed to speak with you is because you saw him last at 9 p.m.
Well, I didn't actually see him.
What do you mean by that?
Okay, so I went to Phil's office to check out if he was going to eat any more because we were about to pack up. So I knocked on the door and tried to open it, but it was locked. So I knocked again and asked if he wanted anything, and he said no.
Mm-hmm.
So I told him good night, and I finished packing everything up.
So you didn't see him? You just heard him?
Yes.
How'd he sound? Was it normal, or
Well, now that you mention it, he did sound kind of off.
Really? In what way?
It was just a single no, and it didn't sound totally like he normally did, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Would there be any reason that his voice would be different?
It was raining. Maybe because he was behind the door, I couldn't hear him as well.
So he usually wouldn't yell through the door at you?
No, I would usually knock and open the door.
Oh, so that was strange, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't think I thought anything about it at the time, but now that you're saying it, it is a little strange, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, and this was at 9 p.m.?
Yeah, around 9, maybe just before or after.
Are you sure?
Yes, it's always like that.
And how come you're so certain it was at 9?
Because that's when we clean up dinner.
Is it possible that the voice you heard wasn't Phil's?
I hadn't thought about that.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I mean, I didn't see him, so I guess it could have been.
If you can, think hard for me. Was the voice you heard particularly high or low, or
Yeah, no, I can't say for sure.
Okay. So then what about the other contestants? What were they doing after dinner at 8 to 11?
I was mainly helping in the kitchen. I know Joanna was back there for a while, so we can talk to her?
Was this before or after you spoke to Phil?
Before.
Okay.
Without the confirmation that the voice that Cameron heard that night at 9 was Phil's, the time in which Phil could have been killed is no longer 9 to 11, but rather 8 to 11. And if the voice did not belong to Phil, the most likely scenario is that it belonged to the killer.
But first, he needed to speak to Marnie. They hadn't spoken in just under 24 hours, and it was about time. But when he talked to the crew, he found out that the storm had done a lot of damage, and that one of the casualties was the phone line. Finn was alone.
Unlike Finn, who had no idea what Marnie was doing during this time, we do know. She quickly realized that the phone lines were down, but that didn't stop her own investigation.
While she couldn't hear the tapes and testimonies that Finn was recording, she could do her own research about the contestants. She contacted family members and friends, all under the guise of being a writer for the Times that would be writing an article on Heroes Isle.
The only new information that Marnie discovered was on Theodore Cohen. Theo had been fired from Stanford after it was uncovered that he had been unfairly swaying scholarships based on relationships and potentially even bribes. And when researching Phil's family, Marnie found that Phil had a nephew that had gotten a scholarship that felt very unlikely based on the qualifications they had set as a precedent the year before.
So, with that in mind, here's Theo and Finn again.
We're trying to get a read on everyone's location that night.
I think I told you before, but I didn't see anyone after dinner. I don't remember seeing anyone.
So you just stayed in your room the entire night?
Yeah, why? Is that not reasonable?
No, it is. I just need to know. I need you to really think hard. Do you understand? Or do you remember hearing anything or talking to anyone?
No, man. I just went to my room, watched Die Hard, passed out. I'm lucky I remember that.
Is there anyone else who can confirm that?
No. Why does that matter?
I'm not at liberty to say, but there have been complaints, so we need to do our due diligence.
What kind of complaints?
Oh, look, man, like I said, I can't really get into it, but basically, Have you seen anyone act inappropriately with anyone?
Well, you asked me this before, but no. Everything seems to be above board.
What about... Have you seen or heard anyone who may have had a grudge against Phil?
What do you mean?
Like, have you heard anyone speak negatively about him?
Is the complaint about Phil?
Look, Theo, I'm not at liberty to say. I just really need to know if anyone has said anything negative about him to you.
No. I have only heard good things about Phil.
I find that hard to believe.
Look, you can believe whatever you like. Phil's a good guy. I've known him for a long time, and I can tell you that whatever complaints there are about him, they're false.
Okay. Well, in that case, I guess I will speak to you later.
Yeah, man. That works for me.
With the new potential time of death, Finn begins making his rounds again, now checking everyone's alibi between 8 and 11 instead of 9 and 11. Here's Finn talking to the skater waiter, Nathan Bailey. They're talking about Phil.
Straight up, bro, this dude's a dick.
Okay, can you elaborate?
He just does whatever the fuck he wants, whenever the fuck he wants. He thinks his shit smells like roses.
So could you elaborate more about what happened after the fight?
Sure. Okay, so, whatever. Security jumps in, and I'm still fucking pissed. One of the producer guys comes up, and we go and, talk on the side, right? And he's explaining it to me, and basically says if I can keep my cool, I can stay on the show. Okay? He says, Phil isn't scared to ruffle feathers, which is one of the reasons they picked him to be the host, I guess.
Okay, I can see how that makes sense.
Yeah, but fuck that. Just be chill. If he could be chill, we could all be chill.
Okay, I got it. So, I wanted to get back to the night of your lockdown. What did you do after dinner, and what did you see?
Alright, after dinner, I went up to my room, and I started getting, some gnarly stomach cramps. So I went on the toilet for a minute, and then Heather came up and invited me to play pool.
Do you remember around what time that was?
When we played?
Exactly, yes.
think like 9 or 9:30.
Oh, because she says 8.
I don't think so, because we didn't play right after dinner.
Right. Dinner ended around 8.
Yeah, about.
Did you see Theo or Joanna? Or did you see what they did or where they went?
Joanna went to the kitchen, and I think Theo said he was going to crash.
And Phil?
Probably went to his office or something.
So if you and Heather didn't play pool, where was she?
I don't know exactly. She probably took a shower, because when we played pool, her hair was still wet.
Okay. So maybe when you two play pool from 8:30 on?
Yeah, I guess.
And what time did you play until? How long was the game?
All I know is it was late, because the staff made us go up to our rooms.
Okay, well then if...
Actually, we started playing pool like a little after the rain stopped.
What time was that?
I don't know exactly, but if you can find out, that's when we started playing. I remember leaving the bathroom and it had just stopped raining.
Great. Okay, I'll do that. Thanks, Nathan.
Yeah, no worries.
Cool.
After looking at the security footage, the rain had stopped at 9:13, so if Nathan was telling the truth, then the two were playing from 9:15 until 11 that night.
Finn went to Joanna again. His notes showed that he was a bit suspicious of her originally. He found it strange that she had asked if they had interviewed Heather already. Here's Finn and Joanna.
And why did you decide to go back to the kitchen?
Well, like I said, I'm a chef, so I enjoy going to the kitchen.
Right.
And I haven't been there for so long, so, I thought I'd go and maybe give a few pointers and I kind of missed being in the kitchen.
And that was before you went back into your room, a little before 10 p.m., you'd say?
Yes, I already told you that.
You did. So you were in the kitchen for a couple of hours, it seems like?
It just was a little bit longer because I just felt it was nice to be around industry people again. I hadn't seen people like that for a while.
Okay, so last time we spoke, you asked me if we'd interviewed Heather already.
Oh, really? I don't remember saying that.
You did, and, I found that kind of odd. Why would you do that?
Well, I don't know. I don't really remember saying that, so...
Are you and Heather close?
I mean, yeah, but, we're all pretty close. You kind of have to be close when you're surviving on an island together, so...
Okay. So you and Phil were with each other before dinner? Talking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did anything unusual happen when you were with him? Or?
No. Why? What are you saying?
I mean,
or what do you mean?
Did he say or do something that stood out to you? Did he mention anything about the other contestants? Did he... anything?
No, not that I remember. Did something happen?
Look, if you do remember, let someone know, if you can.
Okay, I'll let you know.
After speaking with the cooks, Joanna's alibi checked out. She was with them until after 10, when they began to clean up, which means if she were to have murdered Phil, it would have been within the small time period 10 and when the body was found at 11.
So next on Finn's list was Heather. She had caught a sickness of some sort while stuck in the storm and had been getting tested and was recovering.
From 8 p.m. to around 11, I think, is when we stopped.
So Nathan is adamant that it couldn't have been that early because he was on the toilet then. Is there a reason why he could be confusing things? I'm not...
Well, Nathan's a pretty forgetful guy.
Is there a reason you remember it being 8?
Well, yeah, I glanced up at the clock around the time I saw Nathan, and we decided to play pool.
So it was just a coincidence?
Well, now that I have access to a clock, I find myself looking at it more.
So between dinner and pool, you didn't do anything?
I had dessert, and I was the last one on the dinner table, but then... No, then right after that, Nathan and I started playing.
You didn't go outside?
No, it was raining hard. I didn't go outside, definitely, no.
You see, something's not right.
I definitely didn't go outside.
But when I spoke to Nathan, he said your hair was wet. And if you hadn't gone outside, why would your hair be wet?
No, it wasn't wet.
But if it were, though, why would that be?
I don't...
Could you have taken a shower?
Yeah. Yeah, I did, actually. That's what it was. I took a shower really quickly after dessert. I forgot.
When did you look at the clock? Before or after the shower?
It must have been before.
Okay. So it was 8 when you looked at the clock. Then you took a shower and played pool.
Yes.
Gotcha. So maybe around 8:30 you started playing.
I think a little earlier.
Got it. Okay. I wanted to ask you about Joanna.
Yeah, okay.
When I spoke to her, she asked if I had spoken to you already. Do you know why that would be?
No, I don't know.
It was really unprompted.
Have you spoken to her already?
I have.
To be totally honest, it's not my place to say what happened to her then.
What do you mean?
I can't... It's not my place to say what happened.
If you change your mind, it could be very helpful.
You'd have to speak to Jojo.
Okay. Yeah, alright, well that about wraps us up. It's nice to see you in a more promising circumstance, Heather.
What do you mean?
Like not in a cave during a storm.
Oh. Right, yeah. This is, much nicer.
It is.
The doctor had arrived the day Finn had requested him and determined that Phil did in fact die from the machete that was lodged in his neck. And this machete turned out to be a turning point in the case. After having it pulled out of Phil, Finn was able to examine it. Remember, every contestant was given one of these giant knives once they got on the show. Phil kept his on a mantle behind his desk. But when they found the body, it wasn't there, and all the other contestants still had theirs, so it was assumed that the machete that killed Phil was in fact his own.
So in between Finn's interviews, he would often speak to everyone on the show. By the end, Finn would probably be an expert at Heroes Isle. He spoke to everyone and anyone that was on the remote island. And during a conversation with one of the game designers, he discovered a secret that had been implemented.
On the show, a contestant would be eliminated every 3 or 4 days through voting. The only way you were guaranteed a safe spot is if you won a challenge. However, there were also hidden items on the island. Each one could grant you a different power on the show. For example, one could get you extra supplies, and it was found after a contestant found a treasure map and followed it to a chest that contained a coin that could be traded for extra food. Anyways, while speaking to the game designer, whose name is Jonathan Belov, by the way, Finn found out that the last item had not been found.
The item was a gem that, when used in the game, would give a disadvantage to another player during a challenge. But it was never found. Each player had the ability to find it, but up until this point, no one had. And that's because it was hidden in each of the players' machetes. You see, it was possible to unscrew the hilt of it, and out would pop a little green gem and a note explaining the item's power.
And the only machete that didn't have this was Phil's. So after finding this out, Finn rushed to examine the machete again, and when he unscrewed the hilt, out popped the gem and the note. So if the machete that killed Phil wasn't his, that meant the killer must have used their own machete and then taken Phil's as a replacement, not knowing that there was a way to distinguish between the host's and the contestant's tool.
But while the staff collected the machetes to check them, Finn had to talk to Joanna. After speaking with Heather, he was convinced that something happened between Joanna and Phil. But to have that hunch confirmed, he needed to pretend that Heather had told him what happened.
What do you mean?
We know what happened between you and Phil.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Look, Heather told us what happened between you and him, and don't worry, it won't have any effect on your position in the show.
So you guys talked to Heather? Okay.
Can you walk us through what happened? It would really help our investigation.
Okay. So basically, I mean, I like to flirt. I think it helps. You know, as a woman, it's just really tough, and you have to use every advantage that you can, so including flirting, and that's one of the things that you have to do.
Trust me, I'm not judging you, Joanna.
Okay, so, basically, I was talking with Phil about food and opening a restaurant, and everything seemed to be going well, and, you know, we both like New York, and he lives in LA, so, you know, both of those cities are like dream locations for restaurants.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and then, you know, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And, you know, we end up at his office at some point, and I can't even remember what the conversation was about, but he just, you know, sort of starts touching my shoulders, and I look over, and his pants are off.
Oh, so he had pulled out his...
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Huh. So after seeing his junk, what was your reaction?
I mean, I sort of laughed, and I said, yeah, some other time. And then I think I just, like, you know, I wanted to get out of there.
Oh, was this all before dinner?
Mm-hmm.
And how was dinner with Phil around?
I mean, it was definitely uncomfortable for me, and we kind of, he pretended that it never happened.
And when did you tell Heather?
During dinner, I kind of told her what had happened.
Okay, well, thank you for telling this to us. It really speeds things up here.
Okay, good. So, is there any possibility to just keep this private?
Yes, of course. We'll do everything we can to make sure this is all anonymous and confidential.
Okay, I'd really appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All that was left now was to inspect the collected machetes. They had to unscrew the hilt of each machete and find out which one didn't have a gem inside. The idea being that the killer had killed Phil with their own machete and then taken Phil's from the mantle.
And after checking all of them, there was one machete that didn't hold a gem, which meant they had the killer.
So I'm here with Heather again. Mm-hmm. I'm so sorry to tell you this, but I have in fact been lying to you. I'm not from HR. I work for a private investigator.
Okay.
And we are investigating a murder. And that's why you've been locked in your rooms.
Oh my God. That's terrible. Who? What happened?
I'm sorry about lying. But it's safe now. We caught the killer.
What?
Yeah. Joanne is currently being taken away.
That's not possible.
Look, I know it's hard to hear, but that's the truth. After hearing what happened to her, we looked into it further and found...
No. You made a mistake. Joanna would never. She'd no reason...
No reason to what?
She had no reason to... No, she wouldn't do that. I know her. I know it. She wouldn't do that.
We just want to double check with you that she told you about Phil exposing himself to her that night. Phil was the one who was murdered 4 nights ago. And Joanna is the only one without an alibi during the time of his death. Heather?
I thought she was in the kitchen with the cooks.
Yeah, only a bit after 9 p.m.
No, you said 8 p.m., didn't you? I mean, that's when she was with the cooks, was right after dinner.
I never said a time.
No, you did. You must have. I mean, how would I have known that?
Right. How would you?
You said it. It wasn't Joanna.
I need more than that. I need you to say it. It's okay. We know. We know the machete you've been holding on to is actually Phil's. We know the one that was used to kill Phil was yours. Heather? Do you admit to having killed Phil Cardett? Heather, did you kill Phil Cardett?
I did.
Okay, so what's going to happen is we're going to bring you back to the U.S. and you'll be trialed there.
Is it possible for me to talk to my sister?
Yes, we can do that. Just the phone lines are down here, so you may have to wait until we're at the mainland. Okay?
Okay. I know I did a bad thing. But he was a really bad person.
Did he do anything to you?
No, not to me.
So you did it for revenge for Joanna?
No.
Then why did you do it?
I wasn't planning on killing him. But he...
Mm-hmm.
He...
Uh-huh. What did he do, Heather?
He drugged and raped my sister 4 years ago. Fuck him.
And so you killed him for revenge?
I wasn't planning on it. I just wanted to show everyone what an evil fucking person he is, and I just wanted to tell people, but then Joanna told me that at dinner, and then he...
Okay, slow down.
I just...
Uh-huh.
I don't...
Yes.
God, I can't believe...
Alright, hey, we're just gonna take this step by step, alright?
Finn was responsible for making sure Heather was brought to the mainland and turned over to the police. She was then brought to America to stand trial, where she pled guilty.
According to Heather's testimony, when she originally arrived in LA to reunite with her sister and follow her dreams to be an actress, she found a different sister than she had expected. Nina, Heather's older stepsister, was described as a cheerful, determined woman, but when Heather saw her, she had changed drastically.
She was a nervous shell of herself, but when Heather asked to speak about it, Nina would never say what happened. That is, until an accidental run-in with Phil Cardett in a grocery store. Heather says that Nina was visibly shaken, almost paralyzed in shock, and later that night, she told Heather that Phil had drugged and raped her during a meeting she took at his house.
And once she found out about Heroes Isle and Phil's involvement, Heather planned her revenge. She knew the further she got, the more exposure she would get, and planned on revealing Phil's actions whenever her final day would be on the show.
And she stuck to that plan until she heard that Phil had flashed Joanna Park the night of his death. Heather couldn't wait any longer and confronted Phil in his office. According to Heather, he started off very confused and defensive, but ultimately began to laugh it off, saying that no one would believe her and that he would ruin her and her sister's lives.
Heather doesn't remember much more. She says she woke up to her standing over Phil's corpse. She didn't know what to do. She sat in the room for what felt like ages, before she heard Cameron knock. She yelled no, in the deepest voice she could, and that's when she came up with her plan. She took Phil's machete from above his desk and used the window to make it back into the main part of the village. She changed clothes and met up with Nathan to play pool, and tried to fudge the time so she would have an alibi.
She also revealed why she got lost during the storm evacuation. She had to dispose of the bloody clothes and thought that the evacuation would be the perfect time to do it.
And so ends the hateful hacking of Phil Cardett. We do, however, have one bonus call from Marnie and Finn. Here's Marnie and Finn.
Hello? How's the hotel?
Oh, it's really nice. Oh my gosh, Marnie, it's like so nice.
Well, enjoy. You deserved it.
No, I don't. Okay, maybe a little bit.
You do. Anyways, the reason I'm calling is that the payment went through.
Oh, awesome.
And it's all yours. No questions, you earn this.
Are you serious? Marty, I mean, I don't know if I can...
Hey, no questions. Enjoy the hotel. Enjoy your winnings.
Really?
No, I'm serious. Just shut up, you deserve it.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Wow, you do not know how nice it is to have a bath.
I'm sure.
Thanks for listening. On YouTube or whatever podcast platform you're on. It's so wonderful to know that we aren't just talking to an empty void.
If you can, please leave us a review wherever you're listening and do spread the word about what we're doing over here. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, and please subscribe.
And if you have the ability or drive to, please join our Patreon at patreon.com/the Marnie Blick Tapes. Thank you for the support. We appreciate any feedback you have for us, so feel free to reach out to us on Instagram at Antonius Nazareth and at Nicholas M. Sato, or email us at themarniebllicktapes@gmail.com.
As always, editing by Nicholas Sato and Antonius Nazareth.
Music by Antonius Nazareth.
And a special thank you to Mallory Blick and Brett.